my name's Emily and I make homeschooling videos with my 4-year-old daughter Rosie. Right now we're having a bit of a lazy day. Got a doctor's appointment this afternoon because she's got something on her back that we rang up, they want to check. So she's really into C.S. Lewis at the moment and the Chronicles of Narnia, so she's watching the BBC version of The Voyage of the Dawn Treader, which I also watched in primary school. So I thought I'd make today's video a pretty honest one, okay? For anybody out there who's new to homeschooling, or not even new to homeschooling, do be prepared for burnout. If you look at our earlier videos, when Rosie was younger, she had a lot of big immersive projects, which we do still do, and I do still plan on doing more. But I recommend you pace yourself with those, because if you start off thinking of all those things, it's very easy to very quickly burn out on ideas or enthusiasm, and then you feel awful about yourself because you think, where did it all go? Maybe I'm not cut out for homeschooling at all, because where's the passion gone? Where's everything gone? So we'll go into a couple of reasons why that can sometimes be diminished. Number one, how much support do you have? Do you have, and I don't just mean homeschooling, because there's two different sorts of support that you need as a homeschooler. One, especially if you're a stay-at-home mum homeschooler, one is there anyone who's actually taking your child out at least maybe once a week for a couple of hours, so you have some child-free time to do what you would like to do? Not necessarily plan more homeschooling, you may want to do that in that time, but just for you to be able to have a bath, do your nails, something, anything that's just for you, because we got to look after ourselves, because we can't pour from an empty cup. So please excuse the show in the background. That's the first sort of support. The second sort of support is, if you're a single parent, you may not have much of this unless you've hired tutors. Who else in your family is actually helping you? So if you do have a husband, or if you do have older children, or grandparents that are completely on board, have you got support from them? Are they taking, like, do you know what? Maybe you've got a nan who's like, do you know what? I'd love to do home economics with them. Why don't you bring them around once a week and I'll do sewing and cooking and baking and stuff with them? Have you got anybody to do that? Because the more support you have in those kind of areas, the easier it makes it. So the first sort of support is making sure that you have time to recharge and regenerate. And the second sort is, are you actually sharing your homeschooling with anybody, or did you have to persuade a husband into it, and now you're finding yourself feeling very judged because your husband's like, well, you wanted to do it, so basically that's their view, is it's all on you. You wanted to do it, so if you think you can do it, you do it. Otherwise, they're probably going to go, well, I'm going to put them in school then. Rather than, do you know what? I can see you enjoy this. I can see it's working. I can see our child thriving. But I'd like to be more involved. Maybe I can take on a topic. Maybe I can take on a day. Maybe I can take on an evening or something. So those are the two sorts of support that if you're not getting either of those, it is so easy to burn out, because at the moment, especially with lockdown, we are finding ourselves around our kids more than we would normally be, even as homeschoolers, because me and Rosie used to be out all the time. We used to have at least 2 days of the week where we weren't in the house, and then she had clubs, and while she was young enough, she was going to nursery, so I could have a little bit of space. But I've never had anyone in our family that would take Rosie out for me for a day, half a day, or even a couple of hours is maybe I've had maximum, so that I had child-free time. And that's not bashing anyone, that's just we both have parents that still work. We don't have retired grandparents, we have grandparents that still work, so it's not always viable. So the first area is support. The second area is self-doubt, basically, because you won't know if you've done the right thing by your child homeschooling until they're successful. So I'm basing my success with Rosie on homeschooling at the moment on, not that she can keep up with anything that goes on in schools, but that in order to learn, she needs to be able to read, she needs to be able to write, and she needs to be able to do simple maths later on in life. So At the age she's at, those are the things we're concentrating on alongside life skills. So you need to, as homeschooling parents, we have the privilege of deciding what it is important, what we think is important for our children to learn to get on in the world. They're not having everything forced down their throats, but even if you're an unschooler, because that's the other side of it, have you decided what route you're taking, or are you switching between them, which is fine as well? Are you combining some, which is fine as well? So some people feel like they have to be Charlotte Mason or they have to be unschoolers and stuff. You can combine things. You could do a month of Charlotte Mason and then go, do you know what? We're going to homeschool. We're going to unschool for a month and let the children lead. You can swap and change. That's another beauty of homeschool. You can do all those kind of things. But if you're constantly doubting yourself and doubting, if you're moving between them because you're doubting one's working or you're doubting, that's different, because that is mentally tiring. So I know we're doing the right thing at the moment. One, because of the pandemic, and I don't like how the schools are going to be set out. It's partly why we haven't sent Rosie back to one of her nurseries, because we don't want her memories of nurseries ruined by the fact that there's going to be less friends there, there's going to be social distancing there, possibly masks. We don't want her to remember nursery for that. We want her to remember what it previously was, being able to hug friends, play in sand, water and stuff. So we haven't sent her back. Also means I get no free time now. But I've lost my train of thought. But yeah, if you're constantly doubting yourself of whether you've done it, I think it's always going to be there. If you generally, if you're a good, not if you're not a good parent, but if you're a good parent, you're worried about it, it's a good thing. It means you care about your kids. I know, it means you care about your kids, doesn't it?
The man who plays the governor.
Yes, Babby.
It's Dumbledore.
No, it's not. Sorry, she's still watching this show. So, if you're worried you're doing the right thing, then it comes from a place of love and concern, doesn't it? So, you're already on the right path. If you're worried about it, then you care enough about your kids to be worried whether you're doing the right thing by them. So, I just want to let you know it's normal. It is normal to doubt whether you're doing the right thing. But just remember, ultimately, most children learn best through unschooling, following interests, following what they like to do. But in order to let them be able to become independent doing that, they do need to be able to read and write and do basic maths. And then they might need more specific guidance later on if they're into music or art or anything like that. But they can learn about absolutely anything as long as they can read. And if it's even writing these days, I suppose, I think it's important, but you'll find some people that don't think it's important to be able to write because everything's on computers these days, so it's more about typing skills. I personally, I think it's important to be able to write, but it takes all sorts to make the world of people who think what's important. So yeah, so if your child's doing really, really well, they can read, they can write, but they can't do this weird maths problem, or they haven't quite done this, or whatever. I think if the fundamental basics are there, and especially Rosie's age, because she's going to be 5 next month, it's more important that she knows how to dress herself, to brush her teeth, and good hygiene, and to start working on maybe being able to brush her own hair, which she does do from time to time, but we tend to plait it, so it's harder with plaits because she needs them taken out before she can practice with a brush. So life skills, being able to get herself a glass of water if she wants one, being able to get herself a snack if she needs one, knowing who to go to when she's lost, knowing what to dial if there was an accident in the house and then I needed help, she knows who to dial or something like that. Life skills. So, and socialising. I suppose those are the most important things. But it is perfectly normal, and now because of lockdown I think it's a bit more easy to have a few more doubts and think, oh, they're going to socialise easier by putting them in school, aren't they? Rosie socialises wherever we go. She'll talk to strangers, she'll talk to anyone. I do miss her being able to be with her age group, or around her age group, not even just her age group, but around her age group. But once this is over and all lifted, we will be making an extra effort to get back to clubs and finding some homeschool co-ops to make more of a regular effort to get to. So I hope this helps anyone who's feeling a little bit wobbly at the moment. You're not alone. I think a lot of people are, especially if this is the year your child should be going into school. It's the biggest wobble year because you're really kind of like, have I done the right thing? So I think as long as your children are happy, and as long as they're learning, even just through play, I wouldn't worry about it at the moment. And I have to tell and remind myself exactly the same thing. So before my one has a wobbly over there, I shall say it ta-ta from me and ta-ta from the Rosy Bear.